Hello everybody, Mannix here. It is time for a knife review. Before I get into it, make sure to subscribe, click the little bell notification button if you wish to see more knife reviews. I'm making them pretty much weekly now. You can look through all of my other videos, my knife review playlist and other playlists of gear, flashlight, EDC items, things like that. I do videos pretty often, so just feel free to check out the channel if you wish, but otherwise, let's get right into the review. This is going to be on the Cold Steel Range Boss. Absolutely love this knife. I love Cold Steel, huge fan of them. I like how big, over the top, strong, cool looking they are, but they're very practical, very functional, and they're generally very affordable. It's very rare you'll see them go up like really, really high up there in the hundreds of dollars, unless you're talking like the big knives they make, but they're generally more affordable, and you also get a lot of strength, and you get a good blade, a very good functional knife, despite seeming over the top for most of them. This one's a little bit more mundane looking. It looks more like a plain Jane folding knife, but it's extremely effective, extremely versatile, very strong, lightweight, carries well. There's two problems I have with it. One's not that big of a deal, but one is a horribly big deal, but it's easily fixable. Let me get into the positives first, though, so I don't write this off. Specs, I should say first. Handle length is 5.25 inches. The blade length is a full 4 inches. We have exactly a 4-inch blade right here, so it's pretty long, making the overall length 9.25 inches. Nice work. You're great with math. The weight is 3.4 ounces, according to their website. We have a Zyx, they call it, handle right here. It's FRN, basically. I think it's their version of FRN, fiberglass reinforced nylon. So it's glass and plastic mixed together, very strong stuff, very lightweight, very easy to make cutouts in it, very easy to shape. We have an FRN or Zyx backspacer right here as well. Tip up carry only. You can see that stonewash pocket clip right there. Comes with a second pocket clip in the box, which you can also swap to that side right there. Or I should say, you could take this one off and use the other pocket clip they put in the box right there. You could use this one if you wanted probably, but it would curve the wrong way. It would just kind of look goofy and janky. So they give you a separate pocket clip. Interesting. I don't know why they just don't give you a straight pocket clip, and you just use that one so they don't waste the money on another one, but maybe it doesn't matter at all. I don't know, but Cold Steel's been doing that for years. They send multiple pocket clips with you. So, there you go. It is fully ambidextrous. We have the dual thumb studs right there. It is a lockback style folder, technically a triad lock. Very, very strong. And although the thumb stud right here, as you can see, is dual, it's kind of lopsided. It is lopsided. You can see that spot is poking out and the other is not. But you can rotate it, just grab some pliers, crank down on that, get a flathead screwdriver or any tool that'll fit in there and rotate it, and you can swap it out pretty easy peasily. I don't know why they do that. Don't know why it's not just symmetrical dual thumb studs, but it's lopsided dual thumb studs. They've been doing that, again, for years as well. Don't know why, but that's just what they do. I guess people haven't been complaining and nobody really cared, so they continue to do that. Awesome. Stonewash finish on this blade steel right here, which is absolutely beautiful, and it's extremely functional. It's a very smooth finish, which makes it a little bit more wear resistant, a little bit more corrosion and rust resistant, just a little bit by the finish itself. But I love stonewash finishes because they're just my favorite finishes as far as blade steels are concerned. I think they're beautiful, very rugged looking, and you can get completely different patterns with the stonewash finishes as well. This is what Cold Steel usually does. This kind of looks like what they put on their Voyagers. It's also on the pocket clip, as you can see here. I believe we have a bead blasted finish on the lockback. The hardware all looks like it's bead blasted as well. This texturing right here is very interesting. It feels a lot like skateboard tape. It's very grippy. You can even see how aggressive that is. If you look really close, you can see it almost like a bunch of tiny little pyramids or something. There are a lot of little spikes poking upwards like that. It's this is probably the most aggressive texturing I've ever had on a handle scale before, as far as an FRN handle scale goes. G10's another story. It kind of feels like G10. G10's a little bit more tricky to texture, a little bit more limited with what you can do here, or what you can do there. But FRN the sky is pretty much the limit with what patterns you can put in them. And it kind of reminds me of what they put on the Raja. I know they've used it on a handful of other knives, but it's even more aggressive than that. It's like extremely sandpapery aggressive. I love it. I love aggressive textures on handles. No, I'm not dunking my hand in oil and I need something really grippy so it won't fly out of my hand. But I like having it there. If I do something kind of goofy or if I'm sweaty or maybe if I do a thrust movement for whatever reason, I don't want it to slip. I don't want my finger to slip on the blade. If I'm in a stressful situation, I'm trying to pull it out of my pocket. I don't want it flying out of my hand. If you're under stress, it's going to be a little bit trickier. Some people say texturing's dumb. Who cares? You don't need it. I half agree and I half don't agree. If you're in a stressful situation, your adrenaline's going, you're shaking or you're scared or whatever's happening, try pulling out your knife quickly and getting it open without cutting yourself. And everybody can talk big when they're doing it under no stress in the comfort of their room. But if you're in a stressful situation, it might be a little different. I don't have too much experience doing that, but I can tell you that's when the tables might turn a little bit. No, texturing's not necessary on knives, I don't think, but I like having it. Very textured. Now, here's one of the problems with the knife. Personally, it's not too much of a problem for me, but it may be for you. The blade steel on here is 4034 SS, or just 4034. It's a Krupp stainless, I believe. Now, what the hell is that? Well, it's a very, very simple blade steel. It's a good blade steel. It gets razor sharp, and this came out of the box, razor sharp. But it's not great. And if you compare it to almost any other blade steels on the market, even on cheaper knives, it's bad, actually. It's comparable to 420HC, I want to say, as far as my research goes and as far as my experience with this blade steel goes. But even if you compare it to something like CR13 MOV, it won't even hold its edge as long as that. And already that will not hold its edge very long. It won't hold its edge as long as AUS 8. It performs somewhere between an AUS 4 and AUS 6. It kind of depends on who you ask, but blade steels are kind of tricky because you can't really get a good grasp on how good the blade steel itself is without trying multiple knives with that steel, with that type of cutting edge, or what grind they put it, what the blade steel was, what the heat treatment was. That's a really big one. There's so many factors. I don't like to just write off blade steels for being cheap because everybody says it's cheap and it doesn't hold its edge that long. It may not be the blade steel itself. It could be everything else the manufacturer is doing to it. But that being said, everyone has enough experience from what I've researched anyway to tell me that they probably know what they're talking about when it comes to the Krupp stainlesses being cheaper, not holding an edge very long. They'll get sharp very fast. They can take a razor sharp edge. They just won't hold it very long. They won't even hold it as long as something simple like an CR13 MOV. Like I said, it's a very soft, very simple blade steel. It's made of carbon, chromium, and manganese. That's it. 3 elements in the whole blade steel. I'll talk a little bit more about it toward the end of the review, but basically for what you're paying, it's a little cheap. You could do better compared to other knives out there. This retails at $51.99, which isn't a bad retail price. That's pretty cheap, actually. But currently, in mid-2022, in the aftermarket, by which I mean any knife store pretty much, or even eBay, Amazon, whatever, you can find these for just above $40. $40 is the absolute cheapest, or $39.96 I think is the absolute cheapest I've seen this knife for. But you're generally going to pay about $42. That's the average, $42 for this. You could do a little better. If this was like $30, oh, 30 out the door. Yes, that would be perfect. This is a great knife. Absolutely no complaints there. But it's just a little bit expensive for what you're getting. As far as its retail goes, I think that's fine, $52, because if you look at their other knives, like their Tylite, which is FRN handles, but also you get stainless steel liners, has a slightly more complex design, and it's got an AUS 8A blade steel, which is considerably better than this, the Krupp stainless. Again, don't want to take anything away from it, but it is a cheaper steel. You should get less if you pay less. That's just how it is, I think. But the Tylite, although it retails, I think it's $74.99, almost $25 more than this thing. In the aftermarket, you can get those in the mid-$30 range, $36, $37. So why is this about the same price, if not more expensive than knives that retail considerably higher than this one by Cold Steel? I don't know. It's very odd. Maybe it's just a supply and demand thing. Maybe these are just selling really well. I don't know. It's bizarre to me. They retailed it correctly, I think, when I kind of skimmed through Cold Steel's other knives and their blade steels and what they're retailing at. Yeah, they're charging less for this, but in the aftermarket, currently, as I'm filming this, it's a little expensive for what you're getting. You could do better. Let's take a look at a competitive option right here. Bird Caracara, this happens to be the Warncliffe. This one you can get all day long, about $35, $36. This is going to be on average maybe like $5 more than the Bird. But this has CR13 MOV. Considerably better blade steel for the money. No, it's not a magical steel. It's not even a great steel, but it's good for the money. No, it does well. They both have Ephron handles. This one you also have skeletonized, flush-mounted stainless steel liners in it. This one you also have the option to swap the pocket clip to tip down. It's not as strong. It doesn't have the triad lock. It's just a lockback, which is way weaker actually than the triad, so that's a big advantage you get here. But my point is, for the money, you can do a little bit better if you're just looking at the blade steel. That aside, if you're looking at everything else, this knife's really awesome, except for one other bad thing, which I'll get out of the way right now. The fixable problem I mentioned. This pocket clip out of the box is horrible. I'm sorry, Cold Steel, I love you. You're my favorite knife company. I love almost all your knives. This thing sucks out of the box. It's great now that I modded it myself, but out of the box, this is way too damn tight. I'm sorry. We've been complaining about this for years. I do not know why you insist on making your pocket clip so tight out of the box. I just don't understand it. Now it's fine. You can see it's slightly elevated above the handle. You can hear it kind of click when I press down on it. That's because I elevated it myself. I unscrewed it, had a pair of pliers, had a little, I think some sort of cloth, can't remember. I just didn't want to scratch it up or anything, so I pinched down in there. Had, I think, just my bare hands. I just sort of bent the pocket clip upward while I was keeping this point static. Just kept kind of doing it until I felt it give just a little bit, and then just put it back on there. If you're going to do that, if you're going to try to loosen up your pocket clip or adjust the tension on your pocket clip, do not do it while it's screwed onto the handle. You could accidentally just rip out those threads. Make sure you take it off first and clamp it down safely, then do it. Be careful, but now it's fine. But the combination of the really tight pocket clip and this really awesome aggressive texture, I love the aggressive texture, I don't like it on my pocket. My pocket does not like it, even though my fingers do. So the combination of the two, it's really, really tight. It'll rip the crap out of your pants very quickly. You slip this in and out. Good luck getting this on your pocket with one hand. It's not going to happen. Not out of the box anyway. It's just way too tight. It's really, really, really tight out of the box. I was like shocked at how tight this is. I know Cold Steel's pocket clips are known for being tight. This was insane. This was like even more tight. It might just be the handle. Again, really grippy. I love it. But the combination of that with this pocket clip, it's just, it was too tight. Now that I fixed it, it carries okay. It's still kind of tight, but it's not like gonna rip up your pocket too bad or anything. It doesn't like hold on for dear life when you're trying to pull it out of your pocket. Not the end of the world. It's fine. I prefer a tight pocket clip over a loose pocket clip. I would not want it too loose because then it would bother me and I would be afraid of it falling out of my pocket. So that's good, I guess. I guess it's, you know, better too tight than too loose. But out of the box, it was way too tight. And as you can see, we don't have a pocket clip design where it's flush and then it has a very distinct point where it makes contact with the handle and then it raises back up, and if not slightly flared upward rather than downward like this one is, it's also tilted downward, so that makes it, you almost have to lift this up to get it on certain pockets. It's so tight. Everything about it, the design, the texturing here, how tight it is, everything out of the box just sucks about this pocket clip. I'm so sorry, Cold Steel. It's just, I don't know why you insist on doing that. It was horrible. But I fixed it. You know, it's not that long of a fix. You can get it done in maybe 5 minutes or less if you know what you're doing. You can fix it. It's just you shouldn't have to tinker and fiddle around with your knives out of the box. They should be ready to go. But it is a minor gripe if you know how to fix it, which is easy. A kid, when I was 12, 13 years old, I was able to do that with knives, so I'm sure you probably can too. That's a good pocket clip right there. See that? Flush on the top, and then you have a very distinct portion of it that pinches down on the pocket. Not this sort of like, kind of up, and it's gradually pinching down, and then it kind of goes up, and then it goes down. I don't know. It's like, it's really secure, but it's too secure, I think. It's just, it was just a little bit, maybe it's supposed to be discreet. Maybe they don't want it being too flared out like this. I don't know, but I prefer this pocket clip on the Bird and the Spyderco's. But that being said, it's nice looking. It's simple. I like the stonewash. It's very high rioting. It's very low profile. It's not like as long as, again, Spyderco right there. Some people may like that. Some people may want something that's more low profile, not as big. Understood. I don't care about it being stubby. I just care about how tight it is. But yeah, pocket clip sucks ass out of the box. I'm so sorry. It's just, it's horrible. But when you fix it, when you adjust the tension yourself, it's great. It works just fine. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I like the design. I like the stonewash. I like the gray and black we got going here. Okay. So we have a triad lock on here, so it's going to be very strong as far as its locking capabilities go. It is not going to disengage on you anytime soon, even under extremely hard use or even abuse. The blade steel is probably going to snap before it disengages on you. So it's pretty strong. It's literally just a lockback with a stop pin in there, which absorbs most, if not all, of the positive force and even a lot of the negative force going on the blade. It's a very ingenious design. I have a video on that you can watch, just explaining more in depth how it works technically, but it's extremely strong and it's awesome. This knife, it's kind of slim, so it might seem a little unnecessary having such a strong locking mechanism on there, probably for the type of work you may do with this knife, but Cold Steel just kind of sticks it on all their knives. They stick it on their mini Tough Lights. They stick it on their Micro Recon 1s. They don't give an F. So it's fine for what it is. I'm not complaining. I love the Triad Lock. You don't lose anything from it compared to a lockback. You might as well just stick it on there. It's literally just sticking a stop pin in between the lockback and the tang of the blade. Very simple, very strong, tight lockup. Almost no side to side. I tightened this down a little bit myself. I just wanted to get rid of that side to side as much as I can while maintaining the capability of flicking it out without too much wrist movement. And it's very fast for that. So we have a very strong, fast knife. It deploys quickly, readily, while having a very strong locking mechanism. One of the disadvantages to the Triad Lock or lockback style folders is that they just have a lot of tension on the blade. They suck in a lot. So it might be a little tricky to flick them out. Like you need a wrist, maybe not tricky, but you need an extra wrist movement versus liner locks or axis locks or something where no wrist movement needed whatsoever. You just flick it out with your thumb, you're good to go. This one is an exception. Generally speaking, you can get it out without a wrist flick. So that's impressive. And you get all that strength as well, despite being a lightweight, slim knife. And it's extremely slim. Takes up very little space in your pocket other than the length. It's a pretty long knife, actually. 4-inch blade, I would consider a longer, larger knife, but it's very slim. Blade length, it's very long, 4 inches. I like this clip point style blade right here. It's very simple. We have belly towards the tip. It's not like a belly that starts down here and then makes its way up. It's kind of flush. It's almost completely flush until maybe like the last quarter of the edge, and then it curves up. It's useful, you know. There's just enough belly on here, but it's not too much belly either. It's usable. It's a good blade steel overall, a good piercing capability. It's not too acute, so it'll snap on you, but it's not too stout. It'll be difficult to pierce with. It's a good all-around blade, I think. It's just very long. It's very elongated, and that's kind of good, I think, for the philosophy of this knife. You have a lot of reach, a lot to work with here, despite it not being a very big, heavy, stout, wide knife that's very cumbersome, that's very obnoxious. It doesn't take up a whole lot of space in your pocket. So despite being a long knife and having a lot of edge to work with and being very strong because of that Triad Lock, it's very slim, it's very light, easy to carry, easy to maneuver. It's a good all-around, like if you want a very, very capable blade, a very capable knife that can do pretty much anything, but you don't want it taking up too much space and being too annoying to carry, this is the knife for you. And again, it's cheap too, 41 bucks or so, 42, maybe even 40. A little expensive for the blade steel. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. It is razor sharp. It'll take a very, very, very razor sharp edge. It's just a very simple, very easy to manufacture blade steel. For some reason in the aftermarket, I don't know why, everyone's charging just a little bit too much for it. For 30 bucks, again, that would be perfect. This would be an absolute home run minus the pocket clip. I would give it a 9 out of 10 at that point. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 just because for some reason its current price is just a little bit expensive. Again, you can do a little better if all you care about is the blade steel. I don't really give that much of a crap. I don't use my knives so much to the point that I notice, hey, this one's dulling faster than that one. I rotate through my knives, throughout my EDC, and I occasionally open a package with them, cut a zip tie, cut some plastic wrap, and then I strap them up at the end of the day and I put it back on the shelf or in the closet, wherever they are, and I don't really notice that much of a difference in the blade steels. But if you just got to pick one knife and you got to save every penny you have and you're being really careful, you can do better than this one, generally speaking. But it's hard to find knives this slim and this strong and this lightweight and this long all in one. It's just kind of a piss poor blade steel right there for most people. Again, I don't care. I don't mind it. I love this knife now that I modded the pocket clip. It's great. I love how grippy it is, and even though the handle's slim, there's not a whole lot to hold on to as far as its thickness goes. We have very grippy texturing right here, which kind of compensates for that. There is sort of jimping, like in the handle, but it doesn't do very much. I can feel it, but it's not really helping me lock in. Don't care a whole lot, but it would be nice if they added some jimping on there, because a lot of people are into that. It is useful, I'll admit. But so once you mod the pocket clip, it carries really well. It's low profile, but it's not so high riding that it's hard to grip onto. It's just enough to grip onto. It's very grippy. It's not going to fly out of your hand anytime soon. Readily deployable. It's very fast. Triad lock instantly makes it very strong. Again, very lightweight. It's a sub 3.5 ounce knife, just above 3 ounces, so that'll float everyone's boat pretty much. You'll forget it's on you for its length. Again, 4 inches, and you're getting 3.4 ounces of the weight for that. So there's not really much negative you can say about that. So we have a lot of edge to work with. You know, it's comfortable in multiple positions. It's not like a crazily comfortable handle or anything, but it's not uncomfortable either. No lanyard hole, by the way. Almost forgot to mention. I don't use lanyards on folding knives, so I don't really care, but you might. That is going to be a disadvantage for some people. I don't really care. Good looking blade too. It's simple. You know, it's not gorgeous or anything, but it's good looking. I like the stonewash finish on there. I like the blade shape. I like its overall shape. Slim, long, a lot of edge to work with. Good for thrusting, good for slices, good for general slashes. Just good, overall good utility. Very slim, very long knife. And not terribly expensive either. Again, $30 would be nice to see this at in the aftermarket, which, according to its retail price, I would imagine it would have been. But again, for whatever reason, right now, everyone's selling them for closer to $40. If you can get this for $30, you might as well just run and take it. It's great. It's an absolute great, useful EDC knife, but also a good tactical blade. We have the traction on there. We have the lockup. We have the reach. It's generally going to be legal. There's just not much negative I can say about it other than its price for the blade steel it has and its atrocious pocket clip tension out of the box. That's it. So if this were $30 across the board and they loosened this pocket clip just a little bit out of the box, home run, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Amazing, amazing knife. Oh yeah, it's fully ambidextrous, by the way. It's another advantage I'll give it. So if you're a lefty, this one also might be a good choice for you if you like the other things as well. But those are two big hits. Currently, the price and then the pocket clip. Other than that, absolutely love this thing. It's a pleasure to carry. I like how fast it is. I like it's very capable. It's a small knife, but it's a very long knife. That's the thing. It's a good compromise right there. So, and there's some attention to detail as far as its aesthetics go. Very mild, but it's a user, but it's not ugly either. It's good looking. So, anyway, that is it. It's a more niche option from Cold Steel. They're more known for their bigger, heavier, wider, stouter blades. This guy's a little bit more slim. If you like the Voyagers, you're probably going to like this one as well. It's like a slimmed down. It's like a Voyager lost weight. It kind of looks like. That's kind of how it performs too. This blade steel is just going to turn a lot of people off, and it did already. That's the big problem a lot of people are having with it, and that's the problem I'm going to have with it for the price. But again, I don't use my knives all that much to the point that I really need a very high quality blade steel. Generally speaking, I don't need it. Don't really care that much, but if I'm spending over $100 on a knife or so, then I'm going to start, okay, well, what's its blade steel? Ooh, 8-13 MOV, 440C, $100, and it's not really offering me much more. Like, at that point, I'm going to be like, no thanks, but generally speaking, I don't care too much about blade steel. It is good. It's razor sharp. You can defend your life with this. Absolutely, it's a good blade steel. It's just you can do better for the money. So that's it. That is the Cold Steel Range Boss. Outstanding knife. Overall, minus its kinks. I'm going to call them minor kinks. So it's not the end of the world, but it's a cool knife. Really cool, lightweight, backpacking blade, EDC blade, also a tactical blade. If you can only buy one knife, it's a great one to have, I think. So there you go.